Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidussura suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So let's just chant 5 verses of the 3rd chapter, verses 21 through 25. You can just follow after me. We'll start with the verse number 21 of the Karma Yoga section. Yad yad acharati shreshtaha. Yad yad acharati shreshtaha. Yad yad acharati shreshtaha. Tat tad devetaro janaha. Devetaro janaha. Sayat pramanam kurute. Tat pramanam kurute. Lokastad anuvartate. Lokastad anuvartate. Name parthasti kartavyam. Name parthasti kartavyam. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. Nanavaptavyam. Nanavaptamavaptavyam. Varta eva cha karmani. Yadihyam nakvarteyam. Yadiham nanavarteyam. Jatu karmanya tantritaha. Jatu karmanya tantritaha. Mama vartmananuvartante. Mama vartmananuvartante. Manushya partha sarvashaha. Utside yurime lokaha. Utside yurime lokaha. Nakuryam karma chedaham. Nakuryam karma chedaham. Sankarasya chakartasyam. Sankarasya chakartasyam. Upahantyami mam prajaha. Upahanyami mah prajaha. Upahanyami mah prajaha. Sakta karmanya vidvamsaha. Sakta karmanya vidvamsaha. Yatha kurvanti bharata. Yatha kurvanti bharata. Kuryad vidvams tatha saktaha. Vidgad vidvams tatha saktaha. Chikirshur loka sangraham. Chikirshur loka sangraham. So in revising the 3rd chapter of the Karma Yoga chapter, we finished the main section of the Karma Yoga, which in the last few weeks itself, which goes up to the first line of the 20th verse. So there are different topics within each chapter, and the Karma Yoga chapter, the Karma Yoga topic was pretty much summarized until the first line of the 20th. Then from the second line of the 20th verse up to verse number 28, actually let's look at it this way. From the second line of the 20th verse through the verse 26, it has a slightly different topic which we will go today. Then verse number 27 and 28 summarizes the Karma Yoga again. Very nice two verses, 27, 28. And I think we can go up to that today. But before we do that, in the summary of the 27 and 28, let us look into what the topic is of the second line of the 20th up to 26. Here the topic is so the topic before this was that for a person who is not knowledgeable about does not understand the subtlety of oneself, doesn't understand, so this is an important thing to see, somehow in whatever we do, we fail to appreciate our true worth. And we suffer because of that. And we have taken many examples of that. I think one of the favorite examples is that you have something which is in your property, and you know it is there, but you have not really used it very much. Another example, very good example, really, both of them, is that you are kind of like supposing you are in bad shape in life, you're homeless and you don't have a proper shelter and so on and so forth. And someone in a distant relative has left you with a lot of money. And you don't know that. Finally, the people that have a lot of money, people who are representing this deceased person, was looking for an heir. They said he lives in San Jose somewhere, but we don't know where he is. They look for houses and so on. They said, no, he's long gone. I think that he's in bad shape, and I think maybe homeless. So they started to look around to find out from the homeless people, do you know this person? They said, yes, that's right, this is that person. Go talk to him. So this lawyer, well, nice and suited-booted lawyer, tie and so on and so forth. He goes to this underneath a bridge. This guy is just sitting there with his things, and he says, hey, are you such and such? He says, yeah. So who are you? Why are you? He says, you have been given a lot of money, $10 million. So he says, I don't know. What are you talking about? What $10 million? Just leave me alone. Excuse me. So anyway, at the end of this whole thing, he said, oh no, I'm telling you, I'm getting good money to make sure that I find you. So this is all yours. All you have to do is to come with me, sign some papers. So he somehow agrees, goes to the bank, and signs the papers, and the money is his. So then he goes back to the bridge amongst his rags and so on and so forth. So the lawyer says, no, you don't have to go there. Now you should just enjoy. He says, I'll think about it. So he's got this bank slip with him, which says, you are now the owner of $10 million. He says, I have to think about it. I've got my own life, let me do that. Now, when is he going to really appreciate the 10 million? How is he going to do that? He's got to change his thinking. He's got to accept it. It's his, but he has not appreciated it. Really speaking, we are a very similar situation. Very similar situation. Because we are some ordinary people with lots of problems. Some sukha, some dukkham, some sukha. Both sukham, dukkham, both are there. But an analysis of my own feeling that I'm just a transient. I'm here for a few years and I don't know what's going to happen to me. It is interesting, as you grow older like you do, you start to feel your friends and relatives are popping off. You know, and then even if they're not popping off, their bodies are disintegrating. And so, you know, it used to be that we will go to these parties and we will have saying, have you seen such and such movie and have you done this, that? Nowadays they'll say, do you know of a good doctor? And then, you know, that I found a great new diet and that really does this. He said, where did you find it? And so the discussion is all about that. And so the end is approaching. So our feeling is we are all transients, we're going to be gone. And this Vedanta comes in and says, no, you don't understand. You are the very Brahman, you are the... And it just seems like some distant talk. It's like this bhikhari sitting in the homeless guy. And it's kind of nice to know that I've got $10 million. But how I use it, I don't know. Exactly the same situation. So the karma yoga is, so if you go back to the example of this guy, what does he have to do? What he has to do is take it seriously. He has not enjoyed the $10 million yet, but he has to start by taking it seriously. He has to say, can I get an apartment? Can I sign up for Medicare? And then start having some good food. And the dukkha that comes every day slowly will disappear. Slowly will disappear. And so, you know, this is what happens. They say, Swami Dayanand used to say that for example, who is a rich person? A rich person is rich to the extent that you donate something without bothering you. To the extent that you feel that no, I don't have enough money, I cannot donate anything. You don't even spend it on yourself. You don't even spend it. I see some of my friends and so on, they're just working away, and then you ask them, why are you, I think you have enough money. He says, no, you have no idea. Have you heard of somebody, their children don't really support them, so they have to go into, the expenses of all this, caregiving people and so on. So I have to make sure, and what if I live until I'm 95? And my money runs out. So they don't even spend it on themselves. They don't give it any, they're not really rich. Their thinking is not rich. So the thinking of becoming rich is something that I have to work on. I have to work on. So the karma yoga is, really speaking, I think another way to look at it is the program for you to appreciate your enormous wealth in your own mind. This is what it is. It's theirs, it's yours. But you don't accept it. Don't accept it. And you should be forgiven, because really, just like this homeless person, if this homeless person also acts like a homeless person for some time, it's okay. We need to understand it. Similarly here also, it's not going to happen all of a sudden. But if we work at it, and this is what we were discussing in the Mandukya class earlier, for those of you that were there. And here Swami Dayananji used to point this out very clearly and repeatedly. And if you look at some of the literature that he has, his literature was that our attitude towards life is that of a becoming person. A becoming person means I am not okay today, but maybe if I change things, I'll be okay tomorrow or sometime in the future. And instead, what I need to do is to reorient my thinking towards the understanding that the Shastra says I am okay even today as I am. But why is it that I don't understand it? You see, there's a big difference in the two lifestyles. One lifestyle is that you know for sure that you are not okay. You've got, don't bother me, I know what my problems are. I've got a long list. And you do too, by the way, and you just don't admit it. But I certainly know what my problems are, and leave me alone. I'm working on it. And if nothing happens, nothing happens. What can I do? This is one attitude. The other one which says, what did you say? Did you say I have $10 million? How am I going to, how is it that, you can't even imagine what $10 million means. You mean to say that I can go to Whole Foods and get my soup from there every day, even though it is so darn expensive? And say, yes, you can go to Whole Foods. You can go to Whole Foods. I know we look at, this is the new, my wife and I, when we go to Whole Foods, and these things are so, everything is just like $10, $12 and so on. And you look at our younger generation, my son, daughter-in-law, they practically live off of Whole Foods. And my wife and I, we count pennies. He says, no, you cannot do that. You can just go to Safeway or something like this. And so you can say, I can go to Whole Foods and so on. Yes, you have enough money to don't worry about it. So the line of thinking is not as of a becoming person, but as something which has already become but not appreciated. This is the true meaning of Karma Yoga. Because Karma Yoga means, as was talked about earlier, that the way we are, we cannot not act. All of us, we would like to just not do anything. In fact, that's the very meaning of taking vacations. The very end of taking vacations is that you go, it's very interesting, I go and some of these vacations, so they all have this beautiful pool. You know, you go to these very expensive places in Hawaii and you pay hundreds of dollars and so on. They all have a nice pool. And you go and you look at the people around the pool, and what they're doing is they're reading a book. They're reading a book and just relax and napping once in a while. Then they wake up and they'll say, where am I? They read some more book and so on and so forth. I often think, why could you not just do that in your own home? Why do you have to spend $500 to go to Hawaii? You know, and fortunately we live in a very beautiful area. This is no less than Hawaii. It's a nice temperature and so on. But no. So you go through a lot of hoops. It's like instead of doing this, you go all the way to the other side. just so that you can relax. The ultimate for us is not to do anything and just relax. But it will not allow you. The way you are, you and I are made, you can relax for maybe an hour, half hour, 45 minutes. Then if nothing else, your stomach starts gurgling. Or you have to go to the bathroom. Or there's cell phones ringing. So your activity keeps on coming up. So activity is inevitable. You cannot do that. That's done. So the only thing left is, what activity should I do? You don't have any choice of doing or not doing, but the question is, what is it that I need to do? So that is what Karma Yoga is all about. We went through this, I won't repeat it again, that it both has the karma and yoga. So the karma is the type of karma I should choose, and yoga is the attitude in doing that karma. And if I do that, then I am now on my way to appreciating what I already am. See that in the analogy of this homeless guy. So the homeless guy can also have two choices. The money has already been deposited in his account, and he kind of has a vague idea that, yeah, I have this piece of paper in my checkbook and deposit slips and so on, and it says $10 million on it. And his account is not yet completely done, so they've given him some checkbooks to do it. Anything. He says, can I cash it tomorrow? He says, yeah, it's all okay. You can do it anything. But instead of looking to see how to use that money, how to withdraw it, then asking, this is the biggest problem. I tell you, if you don't have money, you don't have these problems. But when you have money, you have to start looking for investment advice. And you have to protect it. You have to make sure that nobody takes it away. No, all these phishing and so on and so forth. A new set of problems come in. So you have to deal with that. But the other attitude is that I'm not going to touch it. This is too much. I'm okay. I'm not very happy in living under the bridge, but at least I'm used to it. I think I can survive. So the Karma Yoga means that the activity that you're involved in should be useful to you. It should lead somewhere. Anyway, so this is what we were discussing, and I will come back to it some other time. So that was the crux of the Karma Yoga. So in summary, the Karma Yoga is for a person who has a vague understanding of what the life is all about. Is there Ishvara? Is there some structure to life? Is there something, am I taken care of? Do I have a support of anyone? And if you are told, yes, you do, but you don't yet appreciate it, please appreciate it. So this is what is called Chitta Shuddhi. So the Chitta Shuddhi means you have to think in lines of being able to appreciate what you have with the help of the Shastra, not independent inquiry. Because independent inquiry is very fraught with all kinds of problems. You will make mistakes, and then you will stumble, and you will blame yourself, and then you will start reading some other books, New Age books, because we are desperate for experience. So don't do that. Please follow the the long-term investment towards yourself. If you do that, you will begin to see that you will slowly become more independent of other things. I mean, for all of us that have been studying Vedanta for a while, it becomes a very real stuff. You know, sometimes if you're, often happens that if you're climbing a mountain and, you know, it's difficult, you're going through all these circuitous routes and so on and so forth, and you're tired, you've got a long ways to go. All you have to do is to look down to see how far you've come. And you feel, wow, I've come this far. It gives you a certain enthusiasm. I can just tell you from my own life, really, that yes, I'm not done yet. I still have a long ways to go. But I can see the progress in my own self. And the progress comes in the form of relative independence from problems. What used to be a problem for me is no longer a problem. All because of my own mental attitude, my learning, and so on and so forth. It's not as though that I've suddenly become Jivan Mukta. But if I just look at, my goodness, wow, what my life used to be compared to what I am now. So that gives you the enthusiasm that I am really doing the right stuff. I'm at the right direction. My path is correct. I'm headed the right way. And the Shastra says it. That measure yourself. What bothers you? Because we have talked about it before, that dependence is dukkha and independence is sukham. Any sense of independence is wonderful. So if you're relatively independent, so this is why I think all of sadhakas, they need to self-evaluate. In fact, no one can evaluate it better. Even people that live with you, they will not be as kind. They might have a feeling, but they might say that if they praise you, that might get into your head. They'll say, you are a lot better to live with. You say, really? Oh, that's wonderful. That means it's some kind of a defeat for them. No one will say that. No one will do that. And they don't have the time to say it. They are worried about themselves most of the time. No one is evaluating others except for criticism. Criticism everybody is very quick with. But praise that no one do. So the only praise you can do is a self-evaluation. You have to see, where am I? Where was I before? And to use every opportunity of a stumble to grow. This is what Karma Yoga is all about. So this is what we'd call Chitta Shuddhi. So the Chitta Shuddhi means the purity of the mind. The purity of the mind means, I think another very beautiful example that I think Swami Maheshananji had given, is that the self is very subtle. Very subtle. Like, for example, for instance, Akasha, the ether, the space, is very subtle. Very subtle. In fact, they say that next to Atma, the subtlest thing is space. And the subtlety of the space doesn't mean the emptiness of space. This is something that one has to appreciate. I went through the same thing when I started studying. I used to think, why are we talking about space? There's nothing much in it. Why are we wasting time? So on and so forth. And it really, the Shastra also doesn't bother you initially, but allows you to discover the beauty of space. Do you know that the most powerful, the most powerful forces are contained in space? The electromagnetic forces, the gravitational forces. Really speaking, the very content of light and sound, they are all in space. You cannot imagine how powerful space is until you really study it, and you're exposed to it, and you're taught about it. And yet it just looks not there at all. This is how subtle it is. And the Atma is even more subtle than that. Enormously subtle. I'll just give one example of that. It's really interesting. When we dream at night time, we first of all go to sleep. You cannot dream without sleeping. You cannot switch straight away from waking to dream. That doesn't happen. So you have to go through a complete sleep state. And then from there you take some baby steps to dream. Then you come back to sleep. Then you wake up, come back to sleep, then you go to dream. So this is what happens. But you look at the dream. In order to dream, you have to sleep. And in order to sleep, you have to have darkness. Even if you are napping during the day, you close your eyes. I guess it's physically possible. You can sleep while your eyes open. It's very possible. But really speaking, anyway, let's not go into that. At night time, you are in complete darkness. And do you know that in the middle of the night, when there is no light, when you dream, there could be bright sunlight? Just imagine. What a beautiful creation. Bright sunlight. You can even have a dream where you can say, oh my gosh, there's too much sunlight. Don't we have some shade here? And you're tired. And then you say, no, we have to keep on going trekking and so on and so forth. Why? But why? Heat. Water falling. Everything is all there in the Atma. You don't import it. This is what we're going to study in Mandukya in great detail. Nothing is imported. There's no light imported. There is no water imported. You just create it yourself. This is how subtle it is. So the Atma also is capable of doing that. All the experiences that you have really come from nothing but your own mind, your own Atma. And so the subtlety of it requires, this is what Maheshananji was saying, this is what I was saying, let me come back to it. He says, to appreciate a subtle object, you need a subtle instrument. To appreciate a table, you don't need anything. But if you were to look at, it's probably a lot of, if you were to look at it in a microscope, you'll see a lot of bugs are crawling around. You don't realize it. In fact, Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, if you ever realize how many bugs are crawling on your skin, Ishvara is very kind. He's not, if you see them bugs, you won't even like your own body. You say, oh my gosh. But there are a lot of bugs, not only inside but it's right on the skin. But you don't see it. in order to see it, you need some very subtle instruments. Similarly, to appreciate Atma, to appreciate space, you need to have a subtle mind that has been well trained and well tuned. Well tuned. Like, for example, I was telling you this, the first time I ever saw craters on the moon. You have to focus very well and quietly, and then you say, wow. I remember that was the first experience I had. It was so beautiful. But you have to hold it very steady, and you have to tune it very well so that you can see the detail of the moon and you need an instrument. So similarly here also, the whole idea of Karma Yoga is Chitta Shuddhi, which means you have to make your own mind subtle enough to appreciate yourself. This is the beauty of this creation. Because you feel, oh, I don't need to appreciate myself. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because you are making a mistake. And so, the Karma Yoga is all about that. And that was summarized in a lifestyle and attitude by the first line of verse 20. Then very briefly, I won't spend nearly as much time. This, from the second line of the 20th through the 26th, the central theme is that yes, if you are an ajnani, if you are an ignorant person, but you have some idea of what is involved, then please use your lifestyle to make your mind more subtle. This is the first line. If you are a jnani, means you have really, you've figured it all out. You have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Then what do? What your lifestyle should be? That lifestyle is being presented from the second line onwards to the 26th, which says, nothing should change. Nothing should change. Why not? Because now you should be a beacon for others. You should be an example for the others, because this is you're repaying the debt to Ishvara. And if you want, you don't have to do anything, but it'd be better if you just continue to live. And the life that you're living is no longer a burden on you. As it is for the ajnani, life becomes a burden. Why do I have to do this? I'm tired of doing this. Why can't I just retire? It looks like a burden. But for a jnani, the same action is no longer a burden, because you are internally free. So your sense of doing things is out of your own volition. And so he's saying that really, even so, now we can very quickly go through this. He says in the second line of verse number 20, Loka sangraham eva api samyat pashyan kartum arhasi karmana eva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadayaha. And so there are so many examples from our history. You pick up a few here and there, but there's so many examples where people were completely done with what they were, but they never gave up action. One which Janaka, of course, is given as one example, but even recently, so many of the cases. Even our own acharyas, you see Swami Dayanandji, Swami Chinmayanandji, and so on and so forth. And it is not that they were really doing it for themselves, because they are pretty much clear about what's going on. But they established schools, and they were active in teaching. Yeah, maybe you look at Swami Dayanandji, who I was very close to for a number of years. I mean, how hard he would work. Just amazing. You know, there was a time when he would come and stay with me in my home, when he used to come to the West Coast, and he'd almost always stay with me. So I am very familiar with his lifestyle. And I tell you, there were people waiting to see him until 11 or 12 o'clock at night, until we had to just turn people away and say, no, you know, let him work, let him rest. And then my job was to wake him up early in the morning. So my wife would make some tea, and I will knock on the door. And Swamiji, is not as though he was already told me that, please, I've had a very late night, and it's very possible I may not be able to, but I need to get up before 6 o'clock. So make sure, well, I hated to do this, but 6 o'clock I'll say, Swamiji, no answer. Swamiji, this is Vijay. Some sound. He says, Swamiji, your tea is ready. He says, oh, okay, just give me a minute. He goes into the bathroom, and so on and so forth. Life starts again. Then people are waiting to see him. Breakfast, this, that, or the other. And this was his life. You would say, why does he have to do that? He can just say, you know, I'm tired of teaching. I'm just going to sit there in one corner and just enjoy life, sing songs, and compose some poetry, and write some books and whatever. No. So this is what Krishna is saying. So he says, and then in number 21 he said, Yad yad acharati shreshtaha, this is what we were chanting, tat tat devaha itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tanu anuvartate. He says people look for leadership. How does this person behave? I remember this, so these things also influence you. For example, I learned a lot from Swamiji, just the way he would behave. Like, for example, if there are some interruptions in the class, cell phones ringing, people coming in late, leaving early, and so on and so forth. And we used to watch him. How does he? And I learned so much from him that it doesn't bother me. And I learned this from him. You will never see me ask it, put your cell phones down. No, it's your problem. You have to figure it out. And if you come late, it's your problem. You come whenever you want to. And so you watch it. I mean, it's not as though I was born with this. If somebody had taught me that, listen, in fact, it was interesting. Everybody has slightly different personalities. Swami Chinmayanandji, he was a little less tolerant of all of this. I still remember this one time. And so this was in University of California at Santa Cruz. Must be 74, when Swami Chinmayanandji had a talk, and there was a hall full of people. And I think 10 to 15 minutes into the talk, there was this guy who, in those days we would call him hippies, so he would look like a hippie, with long hair and so on and so forth. And he came in all the way from the back, and he's looking for when class has been going on, you're late, you should sit somewhere quickly. No. He wanted to get the best seat right up to the front. So he started coming and so on and so forth. And I'm sitting on the front seat somewhere just watching this whole scene. And Swami Chinmayanandji tried to avoid him a little bit. But finally, then this guy is sort of looking for space so that he could comfortably sit on his, But finally, Swamiji just became quiet, right in the middle of the sentence. And he started looking at him. And everybody started looking at him. Well, then he realized, oof, everybody's looking at me. So he quickly sat down and so on. Then he'll say, okay, so where was I? Then he would start. So he had his personality. Swami Dayanandji, when I met him, he'd be different. This is why I often say that Swami Chinmayanand was the father figure and Swami Dayanand was the mother figure. Because the father would say, hey, behave yourself. And the mom says, I don't care, just have more halla gulla in the house. It doesn't matter, whatever it happens. And so you follow the examples of the teachers. So this is what Krishna is saying. He says, listen, yad yad acharati shrestha. He says, whatever an important person does, that is what followed by others. So it is important for you, even if you're a jnani, continue doing it. And then he continues on in number 22. Name partha asti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana na anavaptam avaptavyam. There is nothing that I need to do that has not been done. This is Ishvara. And so he says that if I don't do that, then things will really become messy. And people will not do what they need to do. And society will break down. So we need to have a structure. And it's very beautiful that if you are supposed to do something and you don't do it, then uniformly dukkha comes for everyone. See, look at the beautiful structure in the world. That someone asked you to do something and you agreed, okay, this is my job, I'll do it. And you don't do it. You don't do it. It should give you some dukkha. It's not as though it gives dukkha to some people and sukham to others. No. Uniform. Completely uniform. This is the structure of the world. So it's not as though, so the water boils at 100 degrees centigrade uniformly. And if it doesn't boil, then it is at a much higher level, some 15,000 feet because of the pressure differences. Uniform. Heat gives you heat, uniform. And so this is to be maintained, the structure has to be maintained. Ishvara cannot say, I don't care, whatever happens, happens. So that's what he's saying. That in number 24 he says, if I were not to perform these actions, then the whole structure would perish. I will be the author of confusion and will destroy the beings. So he says, you should also continue, and there'll be a kind of like a subtle difference between when you are done. The beautiful example Swami Dayanand used to do that is learning to swim. And the learning to swim is a beautiful example. And it means that when you first start swimming, you cannot really effortlessly float. You have to work at it. And you have to put your arms and do all legs and so on and so forth, breathing, so on and so forth. And it's all due to effort. You cannot just let go. Then all of a sudden, as you keep doing it, swimming comes naturally. And I really envy my granddaughters because I have never learned to swim. It was interesting, when I came to Berkeley, there was one PE course that I could get. This is my graduate course. I could take on PE. So I said, oh, swimming will be nice. So I took a course on swimming. And unfortunately, I'm very allergic to a lot of things, including chlorine. The very first couple of times, my sinuses were just so bad. Forget about my swimming, could not even breathe properly. So I went and I said, I can't do this anymore. So she said, okay, fine. Okay, we'll give you do something else. I don't know what I ended up doing, something else. But to this day, I have not learned swimming. And I watched these young kids, just 5 or 6 sessions, and now they are just floating. No worried about how to breathe or anything like this. So similarly here, in the study of Vedanta also, for a long time, it looks like a struggle. I don't understand this, and what is it the books say, how should I behave, all this. Then for a jnani, it becomes natural. That's natural. Swami Dayananda used to say that. He says, I forget the exact words. So he was talking about 3 stages. 3 stages of the improvement. So the first stage is that you don't know what is to be done. He used some words, it's not coming to me. The second stage is you know what to do, but it requires some conscious effort on your part. Yeah, the second word is deliberate. Second and third one is I don't remember the first one. Second one is deliberate. Means you have to think deliberately. So for example, supposing someone says something to you, and it is not in keeping with what it was. It is not the correct thing to. Somebody criticizes you, or somebody cuts you down, or something like this. Then the first stage is that you lash out back to them. How can you say that to me? Have you looked at yourself? You're even worse than I am. And yes, so what if I do this? This kind of a thing. This is the first stage. Then the second stage is to say, listen, please have some empathy towards people. They might think you've done something wrong. You don't think that, but just be kind to them. So that is called deliberate. Means that your reaction is there in your mind. So this is what is called shama, dhamma, uparati, etc. All these sadhana. But you keep your thoughts to yourself, and in fact subdue it. So this is what is called I can use different words. One is called kshanti, not shanti, but kshanti, kshama. So kshama means forgiveness. And so forgiveness with some understanding. So this is the deliberate part. So what does that mean? That means if someone says something which upsets you, then deliberate on the fact that there were either some things wrong with this person, or perhaps you might have done something wrong. It's very possible. So you start looking at it. In the meantime, you keep your cool and say, I'm sorry, I did this, I'll try to do better. In the meantime, you're processing it. Process it. This is called deliberate. This is the second stage. The third stage is spontaneity. When you have completely understood, then when things, and this is a very beautiful thing, you are aware of what people, how they behave, how they talk, and so on. But you have an objectivity towards all of them, and it doesn't seem to bother you. Beautiful state that one can enjoy. So these are the three stages that one can go to in terms of, and so here in this section of the post-karma yoga, Krishna is saying that you just enjoy it. Enjoy people's foolishness. Let them be what they are. Because the problem that occurs is we personally take it because we ourselves are insecure. This is the problem that occurs. You know, this happens all the time. I find that somebody would, sometimes approach me and say, such and such person really, that person really upsets me. How they said, and they blame me for doing this and so on and so forth. What do you think? If I tell them that you are not the only person that has come to me, 4 or 5 other people have come to me, they calm down. You know why they calm down? Because they have an element that perhaps I had something to blame for that. But if I tell them that 5, 6 other people have also said me the same thing, then they feel it is their problem, not mine. So the degree of spontaneity and self-acceptance comes from not blaming yourself and just be empathetic to the other person. This is the way things are. And that is a sense of freedom which is very beautiful. You accept yourself as you are, and to the degree you can help someone, fine, if you don't have to go out of the way to help them or anything. But that doesn't bother you at all. Life goes on. That is the state of the jnani that is talked about here in these verses. Then, how much time do we have? I don't know if I can finish this. Yeah, one important thing, and I think I can just do this. I was hoping to come to the 2 important verses, 27 and 28, but I think I'll defer that to next week. But I will point out one other thing as part of this series of things that we talked about, and then I'll pause for some questions from you and so on, and we can have a discussion. And that means that do not impose the teaching of Vedanta about leading this lifestyle, appreciating Ishvara, all of this, the whole thing. Do not impose it on people that are not ready. It's not your mission in life. That's not what you should do. Let people behave what they are. Why? Why should not you do that? Because, this is the example given, that we may not understand it, but we are like fruits associated with a tree that is not yet ripe. Even something like a banana, that's a very beautiful thing, how quickly it ripens. It doesn't give you much time. But before it ripens, if you peel it, you are in for, first of all, you cannot peel it. And it gives you that hint, hey, don't peel me. I'm not ready yet. It gives you as a green color, plus it's very tough. So the people will also say, just leave me alone. Don't try to bug me that you must come to the classes and you must do this, that, or the other. Don't. Let them do what they want to do there. Why? Because they're not ready. And to cut a fruit from a tree before it is ready for ripening, you're creating a big problem. When people are ready, it will happen by itself. I like this very famous Mahamantra, Rukamiva Bandhanat Mukshiya Mamrita At Triyambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam. So it just says, hey Ishvara, please ripen me, and may I get separated to become an independent entity. Hasten my ripening so that I'm ready to fall off and be on my own. So like that. So the crux of this of these verses is that do not impose karma yoga on people that are not willing to accept it. Let them be what they are, and let Ishvara take care of them. Help them if they ask for your help, but because it will be ugly. Be ugly. You know, this is what happens. They have a certain philosophy of life, and you change the philosophy, they're not ready for it. Now they are neither here nor there. Big problems. You work on yourself. Don't try to be, if somebody comes to you, that's fine. Otherwise, just... So this is the advice that is summarized from verse number 20 to 26. That's the essence of it. Then in the verse number 27 and 28, which we'll now do next week, it's a very beautiful summary of the result of karma yoga. What happens? So that we will take next week. So very lovely, two very famous words, very famous sentences. Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaram iti manyate tattvavittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. So this, I think I'll make a note of it. We'll start the next class with an explanation of these two important verses. So with that, I'll close off today's class. Om asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Questions? Yeah.
You mentioned Chitta Shuddhi. What is it from past vasanas it should be, or from this life it should be?
Yeah, combination, past vasanas also. It's an amazing thing that what the Shastra tells us is that if you were to look at the travels of a given jiva across various lives, travels of that person, there is remarkable continuity, and the only apparent discontinuity is taking up different sthula shariras. So there you can be born with a dark skin or a light skin, with a female form or a male form, all like that kind of a thing that it keeps on changing. But the essence of the person in terms of the subtle body, which means your thinking, your attitudes, your tolerance for others, your view of yourself, view of yourself as a person, all those kinds of things. So these are subtle things. There's continuous evolution. And so when a person dies and takes up a new body, you carry your Sukshma Sharira with you. That doesn't change that dramatically. There may be small changes. Even in this life, there are changes. As you learn new things, you become more tolerant, etc., or less tolerant in some cases. That's a devolution or evolution. This is where this is where vasanas are picked up. They say that you can devolve. Supposing you are born in a vegetarian family, you are born in a vegetarian family because of your past karmas. And it's very nice. You should continue. But supposing you start eating meat because you came to the West or something, and then everybody else is doing it and you're like a weirdo if you don't eat meat, then you start doing it. You're devolving. Anyway, so yes, absolutely. The current thinking and the past thinking cannot be completely separated. It's a very continuous thing.
This one, there is a shlok in Gita, Neha bhikam nashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swapam vapyasya dharmasya trayate paito gaya. That means उसका क्रम जो है वासनाओं का और जन्मों का, मतलब ये सब, it is not destroyed, it is still present, it keeps on giving results. But the practice of karma yoga takes you through, it actually. So how millions and I think countless lives we have accumulated those vasanas.
Uh-huh.
How are they going to be all emptied?
So it just means that it is like, the night has there's so much going on. There's the whole night is so dark and so on and so forth. When is it going to end? Just a single sunlight wipes out all the darkness. So it doesn't mean that this has been going. They say, there's a good example. If you have a cave, and a cave means that the sunlight doesn't cross. So see this example carefully. So the sunlight doesn't enter the cave. That means it is dark both night and day. Dark, and has been there for millions of years. And yet, if you take a flashlight, you don't need another millions of years to light it. It lights it up. The millions of years of darkness can be removed instantly with a light. So also, it doesn't matter how many vasanas you have previously. And if you just follow the teaching, it instantly wipes it off. There's not an equality that, I've had 1 million vasanas, so I need 1 million years of... No, that's not the case. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Little difficult question.
Mm-hmm.
For last several years, I had the privilege to take Pujya Swamiji and treat him for a couple of weeks every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I did hear him say that I wish I had not given up yoga that he used to do when he was younger. So, similar question arises for me.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, for Pujya Swamiji, had he done yoga,
Yes.
as I understood, he would have lived longer
Mm-hmm.
and would have helped many more people.
Yes.
So, at what stage do I decide that it's hurting my physical body by
Mm-hmm.
trying to be helpful to other people?
Mm-hmm.
And And so my ability to really help more people diminishes.
So let me understand it. So you're saying that by you have a choice of spending less time in teaching yoga to people, and how do you decide whether to do that or not? I think that you do the best you can, knowing that you've done a lot, you've established a lot of help for people, and your ability to help others is going to be gone anyway. All of us are just going to be. It's a matter of you're judiciously using your time while you are still capable. And so what I would say is that for you to slowly diminish that will be okay. I don't think that you're not doing any less than that. On the other hand, don't give it up, because your experience and wisdom will be very useful to people, and you can become a little bit more of a consultant to them in terms of which I'm sure you are. And in the meantime, replace that time for self-study. Don't let that become a crutch where you only feel very comfortable in the teaching of yoga, and you become uncomfortable in the study of Vedanta, because that is a natural thing, or something that we don't know very well. So invest your time judiciously in transferring over from the Hatha Yoga to a Raja Yoga, and but without really hurting anybody else to a certain extent, would be how I would look at it. That's what I would do that. Shilpa?
So you talked about a subtle lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and you also gave an example of swimming. So what I understood out of that is not to force or not to effort so much that you might drown. So does that mean just you have to pick a direction and go, not force yourself intensely, rather than just let go, and you will be able to do whatever that you are?
Well, I think that's not what I was intending to say, although that's not wrong anyway. What you said is wrong. What I was saying really was, in the example of swimming, is that as we study Vedanta and we study the truth about ourselves and so on, there comes a point where you're feeling that, am I really making progress or not? Then I was that example of climbing the mountain and feeling that, you look back, you don't feel you've climbed enough until you start looking down. And then you say, I'm okay, I'm not doing that badly. So all those things, plus the swimming example, was not as much as the hard versus letting giving go, although that's a separate thing, which is okay. But it's the fact that don't let it discourage you. For example, supposing a swimmer says, you know what, I've been, and that's what happens to me, even if I take swimming now, I don't know when I would be able to do it. So you feel that I'll never be able to swim. Don't do that, because it is not that difficult to learn to swim. You just have to keep patience, and pretty soon, before you realize it, you're swimming. You don't realize that, my gosh, I'm in deep water, I'm able to tread water, I'm okay. Before that, it was such a struggle because of the fears involved. So the whole idea of the karma yoga there is that there is in fact a process where first there is denial, then there is deliberation, then there is spontaneity. And the spontaneity is when a person doesn't have to think about how should I respond to this. You respond it naturally. You're incapable of responding wrongly, because you've spent so much time in understanding the true nature of the deliberations and so on and so forth. So that's the example that I was talking about. Because all of us, I think this is one of the answers to our own mind is that, you've been attending classes for a long time, you haven't got it, and this, that, are you still doing the same thing, and should you be doing it? Like all those kinds, our mind poses questions to it. So there the answer is that not that easy to do, but I'm on the right direction, and there is nothing better for me. Because it takes your entire life into focus, not just one aspect of it. When we do some study for, how to make money or to improving our health, it's only one aspect of our life. What Vedanta touches is the whole thing. And so naturally it is not that easy to do. I have to really grasp at all the fundamentals. But the end results are something what we are all born to do. I think we're very lucky that we are exposed to this teaching of freedom, which is not easily available. So naturally it is not that easy, but enormously satisfying at the end. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think the question is from the previous class. So the way of chanting Om.
Yeah.
So because the Upanishad also stresses on the three aspects of Om, which is A, U, and Ma.
Correct.
But otherwise, how do we spell it or?
Yeah, this is a question that we will go into in exhaustive detail. So please wait. The short answer is you don't need to pronounce the different elements separately. Okay? Like for instance, this is an example that is going to come, we'll give it to you. A human being is a complete entity, even though we have certain stages of our experience. Those are the three main stages, which is waking, deep sleep, and dream. But those three stages, which will be equivalent to A, U, and A, U, U, Ma. You don't have to keep repeating it in order to understand yourself. You simply say that those are aspects that I should see, but I'm independent of all three of them, which is Turiya. So Amatra. So all this will come in part of the Upanishad. So yeah, you may understand the constituents, but you don't keep repeating it. Not necessary for it. Because your main focus is the independence from all three of them anyway. If those were that important, then you would need to continue to, that's only a side show. The main show is that you're okay the way you are. Yeah, so that's the answer to that.
Okay, so if you're chanting Om, just Om is fine instead of
Just, no, not proper to say Om. Just say Om, Om, yeah. And writing also, it should be OM, not AUM. Yeah. Any other questions? Very good. Oh, yeah.
If you observe someone close to you acting inappropriately, and you feel it is your duty to take him to the right path.
Yeah.
But you find with your best efforts, things are not changing,
Mhm.
you feel. So do you take it as a way that the person is not ready yet? So if you give it, will you be earning the what we call papa or no?
Yeah. No, I think you have to see the degree of it. If you are able to help the person if the person is trusting you with some advice that would be helpful to them, then be available to them with that trust. If even that is not possible, then you leave him to Ishvara. Let Ishvara take care of that person, and you've done your best. Or it is whatever has happened, it has now come to a stage where, because really speaking, you don't have responsibility for anyone. Ishvara has let everybody be the Ishvara's children and let them go their own way. But if, as in terms of a relationship, you have some responsibility for them and they are to that extent willing to take your help, then offer yourself to it. Sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your feelings, and say, do the best you can. But if it doesn't seem to be changing, and it's actually results in a additional friction between the two of you and so on, let it go. Let it go.
So ultimately you are saying that it is not a papa.
No, not at all.
You are unable to help them.
No, you did your best. You did on your best, exactly. It's nothing to do with your own papa. Absolutely. Yeah.